Namaskar, hello and welcome to this World Thinking Day commemorations. It's a very special day that thinking is also commemorated the world over. पर इस वर्ड थिंकिंग डे का जो उद्भव है बड़ा ही इंटरेस्टिंग है. This word thinking day has its genesis in the word the Scouts and Guides movement across the world. तो 1926 में लगभग आज से 97 वर्ष पूर्व this word thinking day was established by the Scouts and Guides organization founded by the Baden-Powell couple. So they were very interesting couple who had an age difference of substantive 32 years. Lord Robert Baden-Powell, who was the founder of the Scouts and Guides mission after his prolific military career. And then in 1912, he married Lady Olive Baden-Powell, who was around 32 years younger to him. But then this couple, both they shared their own birth anniversaries on 22nd of February. So in 1926, it was decided upon by the Scouts and the Guides mission to dedicate this day, whereby the Scouts can think about the worldwide spread of the Guides and the Scouts movement. So thinking as in याद करना, remembrance. But times have changed. 97 years ahead, we are living in a very, very complex world. The advent of science, technology, and a whole lot of advances in the way we are doing business, the globalization coming in. The world has truly become extraordinarily complex. The implosion of information, which is all around us, it just makes us bewildered. The amount of fake news which is getting peddled across, and the social media bubbles which we all face, they all put us in a fix as to what is right and what is wrong. And at this very critical juncture, thinking has to get, I would say, it has to transcend to the level of critical thinking. So we at Rethink India felt that why not add further dimension to the thinking movement per se, thinking as a discipline. हम लोग विद्यालयों में we all study lot of subjects, but जो meta subjects हैं, learning how to think and learning how to think critically. Now, this is something which we felt is a very need of the futuristic learning, when the word is going to be not simpler, but even further complex and convoluted, where you have to find the real intent, the meanings behind what is being said. You have to come to a decision making in all your context over there. So we felt of curating this community of critical thinkers. And by way of this community of critical thinkers, what we intend, I would just come to that, but I would like to bring in Dr. Subhi with me, that her opening remarks as to what really has inspired us to add upon newer dimensions of futuristic learning, because what we are learning in our schools and universities and colleges is just fine. These are the skills we are learning. But then at Rethink India, it remains our constant endeavor to complement the contemporary conventional spaces. We are complementing to the entire education system per se, helping them, giving them, I would say, uh, tools and frontiers whereby this would help them over there. So, Dr. Surbi, what you have to say about this?
Absolutely. So I feel that futuristic learning is all about how you are perceiving, encapsulating, and thinking. Thinking becomes a very important component of understanding and assimilating knowledge. So futuristic learning is all about linking it all, correlating it all, and critical thinking. What we are saying, emphasizing here, is critical thinking, wherein the focus or the element of where we say the analyze, evaluate, and apply information. So asking questions, thinking through solutions and conclusions. Critical thinking is very, very important in scientific learning, in the process of futuristic learning. So this is our at Rethink India, our effort is to bolster this entire vertical of critical thinking, and this is the our first steps towards
So,
that
so,
that
critical thinking, a lot has been talked, a lot has been, I would say, there's a lot of theory around it. But what we are endeavoring in this whole enterprise is like, from next month onwards, we would be commemorating every Thursday as a Thinking Thursday. And this community of critical thinkers would be convening for around 45 minutes to 1 hour. And through a case study approach, through a conversational approach, we would be bringing about the various facets of applied critical thinking. So, in a nutshell, if I just come, what is critical thinking? What happens is these abstruse concepts. The theory is very simple. It can be seen on a one single slide as to what is critical thinking. But then to apply it in various contexts and to become the champions of critical thinking, applying in our own day-to-day studies, and even going further to our professional endeavors, it becomes a very tricky subject. It becomes a very tricky proposition. So, mota mota critical thinking is four elements. to understand the connections between various ideas. Now, ideas are dime a dozen. So many ideas are unfurling because of the multi-layered environment we are living in today. Then we have to prioritize the tasks. That is other part of it all. Then identifying errors in reasoning. Today, various power lobbies are out there. Various brands are trying to attract our own attention. Just go to Google and do an exercise. Key, what are the benefits of drinking coffee, and what are the benefits of not drinking coffee? And you would be perplexed with the amount of information which is so close knit, which will come to you from that exploration, that you will really get bewildered. Ki, what is the truth? Should I drink coffee or should I not drink coffee? So, so this is the kind of the modern, I would say, challenge which we are all facing, whereby we need this faculty of critical thinking, and if it can be embedded right at the school level, and this community of critical thinkers is open for the students of class 6 to class 12, because that's from the post primary till secondary level, the students can just come in. And the whole idea will be that we would be having a upper cap of around 1995 students, whatever are there, and in various groups they would be coming, they would be doing some kind of critical thinking all through the week. And every Thursday, every thinking Thursday around 9 p.m., they would be coming and sharing their experiences, sharing their real life anecdotes as to how they uh, got over a particular challenge and applied the principles of critical thinking. Because principles are very simple, but in order to apply them, it's like driving clutch, gear, accelerator, and the whole gearbox moving from first gear to the reverse gear or whatever. So, how we can apply these principles in our day to day lives, in our academic studies, in our decision making? So, critical thinking, the entire process helps us to gain thorough understanding of a particular subject matter. So, it's a systematic approach to problem solving, and this is a process guide. Critical thinking is a process guide to belief and action. What we have to believe in just by hearsay, yeah, on the face of it, believing. We used to talk about scientific temperament, scientific aptitude, scientific attitude for that matter. But the word has gone beyond the scientific attitude per se. So much of information, so much of influence is coming on our fray, that in order to उस तिलिस्म से निकलना, उस कुहासे से निकल के अपनी एक समझ बनाना, to create our own independent and original thought, authentic one, is really tough. And organizations today are valuing this skill in a phenomenal manner. And the whole idea behind this community is to create intellectual giants. So, and in India, critical thinking is not new. We have the Gita aphorism of Pariprashnena Sevaya. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna are having the discourse. Krishna establishes himself to be the supreme God himself. But then Arjuna was never on the face of it. He did not accept what Krishna was saying, and he was critically thinking over and over again. He was critically going through the various arguments which were given to Krishna, arguments, counter arguments, a pariprashnene seva, a kind of a discourse was happening. And in this discourse, and the entire Bharatiya Chintan, the entire Indian paradigm, we have never said that there are certain commandments. India is a unique country. And in fact, as the term rethink India goes, we are inspired by Sri Aurobindo's aphorism that if India has to survive and do her appointed work in the Committee of Nations, then the youth of this country has to think, and think critically, and not stopped at the surface alone. They have to go deep. And he uses very beautiful, I would say, the maze of Bhima. I will just read out that particular aphorism of Sri Aurobindo, and that's where critical thinking lies in. Because belief हमारी परंपरा में सीधे सीधे नहीं है. We don't believe in miracles or just the authority level things. We really dive deep into that, and that has been our knowledge tradition. Somehow it has been lost over the period of time, or we have ignored it. But the whole idea is the modern advances, the modern narrative in critical thinking. We are using that, and also the traditional edifices of thinking what we had, the whole pedagogy of critical thinking. So That is whole subject matter. That is the whole objective behind it. So if I nutshell is, so in critical thinking, we challenge the status quo, and we consider the motives, that whatever is being said to us, uska motive kya hai, what is we have to consider the motives. And thirdly is, don't assume that you are right. It's not an arrogance कि मैं ही सही हूँ, because complexity इतनी ज़्यादा है. I would just pass on to Dr. Surbi when she makes a medical judgment. Just morning, I was witness to a kind of a scenario where a 20-year-old male was reporting a kind of um, problem in controlling his, I would say, his urinary movements. And one of the doctors had quickly written a kind of a muscular relaxant. And then it was a tough choice, a tough decision making. I would request Dr. Surbi to just narrate that,
Absolutely. Yeah,
as
yeah.
to what kind of critical thinking the medical professionals have to do, despite all the advances of pathology, all the advances of medical imaging, and where it all accrues from. So that will be a nice learning. Yeah.
Very well pointed out, Raghav, that in the medical world, critical thinking is very very crucial, and the application of critical thinking stems right from the time when we are taking the history of a patient and the diagnosis is made. It all accrues from asking the right questions, and the motive is that, where you say consider motives, that becomes very important, where we say that the welfare of the patient, the recovery of the patient without, going into unnecessary medication. So this is where critical thinking is really applicable. So in the today morning's case which Raghav is mentioning, so a 20-year-old child comes with a urge to urinate, frequent urination, and the bladder movements are quite frequent. So then you have a choice, you have to make a decision. The thought is that whether the muscle relaxant will help the child, or whether we should go through to the root of the problem and try to heal it from the root, which is the neural problem. There were other family issues or other neural connectivity issues which were the actual root of the problem. So this is how critical thinking is applied, in the sense that, where we say you are challenging the status quo. How you're challenging the status quo? That if the child is having the some disorder or bladder movements which are frequent, you have to heal that. Then consider motives. The overall welfare of the patient is important, not just that you give a medicine and that the temporarily he should get relief. The motive is overall healing of the patient. And then don't assume you're right. At every point you are correcting yourself, you are questioning yourself, is this the right approach? So in medical sciences we often face this unique situations where we have to say that at every point, evaluate, reevaluate, and analyze, and then you have to apply all your medical knowledge and put it to action. So very well pointed out. And not just in diagnosis, even in the treatment paradigms, we often observe that critical thinking is important. We have ABC protocols for a certain disorder. That if A does not work, then protocol B. If B does not work, protocol C. But it's not that it can be applied linearly. Every human body is a unique case scenario in itself. How the social factors, the environmental factors, the family factors, the genetic factors, it's an interplay of it all. So critical thinking, if our students of today from the schools from 6 to 12 standard are trained to analyze and approach a problem or a situation from that point of view of critical thinking, they would it's ingrained into them, it's embedded into them right from the roots, from the foundations. And that's what at Rethink India we wish to approach and ingrain into our students.
So what happens is, with the advances in science and technology and medical sciences all across, the kind of phenomenal advances which the humanity has made because of being connected. The internet technology has brought people together. It has brought all kind of knowledge and information available to each one of us. So we all are recipients of a vast volume of information, knowledge, and I would say wisdom. The wisdom of the savants of all denominations is just available today. Otherwise, earlier we has to. So this has really brought about a phenomenal challenge, and an opportunity as well. So while we are saying that uncertainty has exponentiated, volatility has gone over the roof, but then if we have the right tools with us, if we have the right process with us, for example, Newtonian mechanics was supplemented with the Einsteinian quantum mechanics. The space is shaped. So that was the entire debate of the modern physics, what we are all witnessing, and the advances which we are all relishing. The technological advances are all because of on those foundational aspects of I would say an inquiry into the universe per se. So if I just sum up as to what the process of critical thinking is all about in a very small aspect, it is nothing but analyzing, evaluating, and applying information. How? That you we have to ask a lot of questions. That's what Dr. Surbi Singh, medical profession, like the famous detective character of Sherlock Holmes, of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was a medico himself. So medicos are the ones who have to unravel the mystery of the human body. So you have to ask a lot of questions. That is the history taking part of it all. Ask a lot of questions, then gather relevant information from all kind of your learnings, various sources. That is very important. Then think through solutions and conclusions. In medical sciences, they say there is a concept of differential diagnosis. There is no one
Yes,
problem solution. Like in our classrooms, 6 to 12th, 2 plus 2 is 4. But what is 2 and what is 2? And what is the operator plus? If you study the higher computer sciences, plus is an operator. Now the plus operator, what do we mean by that? So there are certain underlying assumptions that plus means it is the operator of addition, it is the operator of subtraction. So that is what critical thinking is all about. निरीक्षण परीक्षण और सर्वेक्षण की जो परंपरा हमारे देश में रही, हमारे यहाँ ये कभी नहीं कहा गया कि just trust blindly. You have to triangulate that truth. You have to gather a lot of information. You have to think through solutions and conclusions, uh, solutions as well as conclusions. That is what is very important in from the medical parlance, if I am allowed. So there is a diagnosis and there is a prognosis. So if you choose a
absolutely.
particular decision tree, oh, if this is the diagnosis, this is going to be the decision matrix, this is going to be the progression of the disease, and this is the prognosis of it all, and that is how we will treat it or manage it or whatever we do it. So such kind of decision making challenges are going to come to each one of us. And why critical thinking is important, I will come to the other part. The more and more automation is happening, more and more mechanization of the human word is happening, the jobs are going to decline, which were repetitive in nature. The clerical jobs, the middle managerial jobs, all jobs, the kind of the way with which economy is transcending, and that is the core attraction for the students, for the young learners. Because by the time they would be coming today, a student of class 6th, when he will be coming to class 12th and doing his undergraduate studies, the word would have moved far ahead. The pace of change is extremely fast because of the advances in technology. Aaj to there is a talk of fourth industrial revolution where technologies are converging. We are talking about artificial intelligence where all kind of knowledge is getting fed into the computer systems. So humans have to be trained into those vocations, their skill sets on those vocations which are not, which cannot be done by the machines. See, that is where the humans will have a competitive edge. We cannot stop the advent of technology at all, despite sovereign regulations coming in. The bloodbath is for sure. So until or unless we really prepare our youngsters, especially the sixth graders who have come out from the primary school and they have touched upon a middle school, and now they have the agency to look through the word, to really get enabled to really have a life of dignity, a life of fulfillment coming ahead. So if they can inculcate these skills in themselves, so that is the whole purpose behind it, that which machines cannot emulate. So, and then consider alternate systems of thought, which is a part of the critical thinking process, that you have to also think of like I see them from a medical perspective, that if you cannot have a solution in one linear direction, use a different system per se, and finally communicate effectively with the patient. So this is the whole crux of it all. What we intend to do as a part of this community of critical thinkers, we said that we will develop and groom intellectual giants of future by this small exercise of ours. So every Thursday, we would start engaging, interacting. We would pose problems. We will converse with the students at large, with the participants at large, and we will give them certain challenges to work upon for the whole week per se. So that is how we want to build a community of critical thinkers, which is not a lecture mode. It would be more of a conversational aspect. And as I said that, the Sawan, the rishi of modern India, what he said about critical thinking in his aphorism, that our first necessity, if India is to survive and do her appointed work in the world, is that the youth of India should learn to think on all subjects, to think independently, fruitfully, going to the heart of things, not stopped by their surface, free of prejudgments, shearing sophism and prejudice ascender as with a sharp sword, smiting down obscurantism of all kinds as with the mace of Bhima. We have with us Dr. Rajesh Sharma from Bhojpal, Bhopal, and I will request Dr. Sharma to also lend his expert opinions on this emerging aspect of critical thinking, and how does he see this complementing of these futuristic skills with the conventional school education. Dr. Sharma.
So,
Pardon?
yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Raghav. And I'm sure the critical thinking is very, very important. And frankly speaking, we have to bring in into the classroom. And although NEP is trying to build it up, and I will be really happy when you're planning to involve the students and give them problem. Kindly start that process maybe in the end of March or first week April. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Uh, my voice is clear, I hope.
Yeah, sir, a bit gypsy, but we
Should
can make out of
we?
it. Yeah, we can make out of it. Yeah. So,
Am I audible?
yes, sir, a bit of jitter is there, but we can make it out. So, what Dr. Sharma is saying, he is emphasizing upon, he is seconding our opinion. He's a very senior principal in the CBSE system. And what we are now planning to take it forward is the word teens
Dr.
days of children.
Raghav?
Yes, sir. Yeah, there is some connectivity issue.
Yeah,
So
some connectivity issues there. So I think the wavelength is.
no worries with that. Yeah. So coming closing. Yeah. So what we are trying to pose it, a disclaimer I would like to put it, that the critical thinking is not to make you skeptic.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can now see you. Yeah.
yeah.
Now it's perfect.
Whatever you are planning to do some student
Yeah, Dr. Raghav, can you
Yeah.
hear me now?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, please.
Yeah, thank you. So what I was trying
give me a
to,
minute, I am coming to laptop.
Sir.
okay, oh, now one, so much of
Give
delay.
me
Anyhow, what I was trying to say, for the starting of the activity with the students, my request would be that we start it in first week of April.
Yes.
Because right now the children and the schools are having their examination or they are busy in the final examination. Of course, board exams are going on as it is, you are aware, 10th and 12th. So my request would be that we can have this activity and it will be absolutely very, very phenomenal and helping the children to understand. And frankly, critical thinking is one of the most important 21st century skill which is needed among the students. So I really appreciate your effort. Thank
Sir,
you.
sir, thank you, sir. So
Great
yeah,
work.
that's the plan. But we felt like commemorating the World Thinking Day and announcing it prior to like this is what we are planning to do in the next academic session, and students from 6th to 12th grade would be open to be a part of these engagements, and these are more of these would be more of conversational engagements once a week, and we would be keeping them in the night hours so that even the parents can listen to that, because critical thinking is not something which can be done in isolation. It has to be done in a group format, because the kind of bombardment which we as citizens, which we as individuals, which we as communities are facing. So pariprashnena sevaya, this is the I would say aphorism from Gita, that we have to, without disrespecting, even when we are asking questions in the classroom, it has to be done in a respectful fashion. So we are not suggesting, critical thinking is not about getting disrespectful or cynic or a skeptic. It is all about keeping your poise and calm, and to really, as a true explorator, to really meander through, like we do a star watch, sky watch, and try to find out the various nakshatras, the various kritikas, the various constellations over there. So this is how to find the truth, because truth is hidden behind the maze, and the objective truth, to be objective, it's a tough process, because today we have all the convenience of convenience truth. Consume this, you will be happy. Do, but experiential knowledge. So this is what we need to do. So thinking, which started off by the Boys Scouts mission, thankful of the Baden Powell couple, which established such a vast global movement of scouts and guides. Now probably it's the next century, the next stage, where we have to have a new set of scouts scouting for truth, and we have to create guides of truth. So I think that is the new challenge in this century, and nothing to be bothered about. And in our parampara, Bharat में तो critical thinking has always been there. हम लोगों के यहाँ तो ईश्वर भी अगर अवतार ले ले तो भैया तुम ईश्वर हो कि नहीं हो, उसका भी प्रमाण आपको देना होता है. So it is not just a declaratory aspect. And so since it is in our parampara, sits in our tradition, family traditions, howsoever latent it might have become, but in order to reignite it across, it's a simple thing. And as Sri Aurobindo has said, and to think on all subjects. In fact, he has encompassed the whole universe of critical thinking. This is what critical thinking is actually all about. What Sri Aurobindo says, that the youth of India uh, should learn to think on all subjects, to think independently, fruitfully, going to the heart of things, not stopped by their surface, free of prejudgments, sharing sophism and prejudice asunder. And it's also, it would be exercise in parenting as well, because we try to impose a lot of our choices onto the students, onto the children per se. So this will be more of a participative, a family oriented discourse. We would be sharing the details through the emailers and all, but we felt like commemorating the World Thinkers Day with this small announcement, with this small exploration. Dr. Surbi, any final words? And yes, sir, we would be starting it off in the first week once the examination fever is over, while and then the students would have larger leisure time with them. Dr. Surbi, closing
So,
remarks. Yeah.
so with these words, I would also like to add in here that सोच जिसे कहते हैं विचार या thought is so critical to action, you know. So if we are able to think critically, if we are able to absorb, and if we are able to assimilate a perspective, an opinion, a view based on our critical thinking, which is so very scientifically and logically based out of reasoning, out of questions, out of analysis, out of thinking through alternate solutions or systems of thought, then the action which would ultimately accrue or ensue would be so powerful. So as we say that the source of it all is the thought. The thought is the fundamental quanta of energy which is leading to the powerful action. So rethink India, and we say critical thinking is really important. So just open for all the students of 6 to 12, and the faculty coordinators and our academicians, edu leaders, principals. This is a clarion call that, let us just ignite our brain buds and go deep, and not just accept things on the face value what it looks like, but we have to go deep and think critically. Thank you so
With
much.
this, we close this small, brief introduction to it all. And uh, yes, sir, sir.
Just last thought is that and whatever, as the philosophers and in our Indian tradition also, you become what you think. So when
Yes.
they think critically, I am sure they will have a clarity and they will be able to understand better. Thank you and all the best for the
Thanks a
project.
lot, sir. Thanks a
Yeah.
lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.